Hey guys, this is Max Headspace 9mm. Can you remember back a couple of years ago when I made this video called The World's Most Misunderstood Gun? That has become my most watched video. It has over 1 million views. And I had no preparation whatsoever. I just stood there and talked about a gun that I was kind of excited about that very few people have ever heard of. Well, I brought it back because there's a few things I didn't tell you about it. Actually, there's a lot of interesting things about this gun that make it very unique and I think misunderstood. One of the things that I didn't tell you last time, I guess it just didn't occur to me, is this is a takedown gun. So right here is a nut that you can loosen and the barrel slides off. So you can see, you can basically cut the size of this gun in half in just seconds by unscrewing this, put it in a backpack, carry it around, whatever. So as you recall from that video, it has a helical mag. Very, very unusual. This is one of the only guns in production in the world with a helical mag that we can get here in the States. Of course, there is the Bison. That is a Russian subgun, 9mm. It's really, really hard to get. If you got a lot of money, you might be able to get one. But this is as close as most of us are going to get to a helical magged gun in the United States. This is made right here in the Northwest, in Eastern Oregon. And here's something that I didn't tell you last time. In the time between then and now, I got a pistol. And this is the world's most misunderstood pistol, in my opinion. Look how tiny this thing is. Well, it's actually really big. Compared to most handguns, it is really quite big. But when you stop and think about what this will do, it's a really lightweight, compact gun. Empty, it's about 3.5, 4 pounds. Uses the same exact helical magazine as the rifle. Shoots .22 long rifle. Now some people complain. If you watch other videos about this on the internet, you'll find a few people complain about things. It is a very different design of gun than most. It has a lot of things about it that are very unusual. And some people don't like that. They like more traditional things like the Ruger 10/22. And that's fine. Believe me, I understand. I have 3 Ruger 10/22s and I love them. Okay? I'm not trying to knock the Ruger 10/22. I'm just saying that this is better. In some ways. Just kidding, okay? In some ways, this is a better gun. It's very unique. And if you like unique things, if you're mechanically minded and you can handle the more complicated magazine, you know, this is a helical magazine. It needs to be wound. You know, that's a thing for some people. Some people just don't want to deal with that. They just want to push those rounds into their stick mag and be done with it. That's fine. If that's the way you are, great. The helical magazine is reliable. I've had no problems with this. I've had this apart. You can take and replace every single piece in this magazine. You can buy new magazines. It's not an issue. So, but if you don't like mechanical things, if you don't like things that are more complicated, stay away from it. But without this magazine, this action is just as simple as the Ruger 10/22. No difference. But I will tell you, this has a better trigger. So let me show you something. And to those of you who are going to scream at me for pulling the trigger on a rim fire without something in the chamber, it's my gun, my rules. Okay, so here is the trigger. Whoops. Okay, here's the trigger. Look at that. Now watch the reset. Amazing. I would say it's about a 3-pound trigger. Just a tiny little reset. Not gritty, very hard break, like almost like a glass rod. And I will tell you, I have 3 Ruger 1022s. I know what their triggers are like. They're good, but this is a better trigger. I like this trigger a lot more, a whole lot more. Now, the cool thing about this is it uses the same magazine as the rifle, okay? What people hate about these is it has this notched sight mounted on the magazine, and they say that's a bad thing because, you know, when you're snapping the magazine in and out, no good. Well, I'll tell you something. This thing doesn't wiggle at all. When this is snapped in here, it is as if it's welded. I mean, it does not move at all. I have never had, and look at this, you got a 12-inch sight radius on this pistol, okay? Here is your post up here, and here is your notched leaf back here. So, anybody that tries to tell you, oh, it's a piece of junk because it has the sight mounted to the magazine, they don't know what they're talking about, and they've never used one. So what I'm gonna do in the future, I'm going to do a shooting demonstration with this to show you just how accurate it is, because when you realize that this thing has a 12-inch sight radius and, you know, it's really steady because the weight of this actually holds, a heavy gun is a steady gun. You know that. So it's a little bit easier to keep this thing steady. This is a very accurate target pistol, surprisingly enough. And what I'm going to do when I demonstrate this, I'm going to do my thing that I've done before. You've seen me do it, where I'll put my metal target out there. I will shoot at it from, say, 25 yards. I'll step back 10 yards at a time. Each time I step back and shoot it again, I'm going to remove the magazine, replace the magazine, just to show you that that does not change the position of this sight at all. It's just fine. It's a good design. There's nothing wrong with doing it that way. It's the only way you could get this long of a sight radius. Now, here's something that's really cool about this gun. If you're going to SBR a gun, this would be a fantastic one to do. It's the same frame as its big brother. See? Same exact frame, just different barrel is all. Same magazine, same frame. Now, if you'll notice, this one has a folding stock. This one does not. But it's got the same holes on it that you would use to mount this stock. So you could get one of these, do your SBR paperwork, send it in. When you get it back, buy a folding stock from Calico, install it on this thing, and you would have one really slick little SBR. Am I going to do that? No. And the reason is I've got an even better idea, and it doesn't require any Form 1 or Form 3 or whatever kind of form paperwork it is. And I wish that Calico would get their act together and come up with this design themselves, because it's just begging to be done. What I want to do with this is make kind of a cool little bullpup out of it. I wish somebody, and if they don't do it, I'm going to do it myself, would machine a little mount that clamps onto the front sight right here, giving you a little piece of rail right at this point right here on which you could mount a micro red dot. That way you could use the magazine as a cheek weld, and you would have something that would be even smaller and lighter and higher capacity than a P90. P90 is a 22, so this is too. And I got to tell you, you know, you're talking about, well, you know, I don't think those things are reliable. Let me tell you something. I know people are going to say that I'm telling stories here, but I've got 3 Calicos. I don't have one here, but I have one more just like this, new in box, that I'm probably never going to fire. 3 Calicos, 3 Ruger 1022s. Okay, I've been firing both of these guns for a long time, and I know, and I will tell you, that I have had more issues with the Ruger 10/22 than I have the Calico. And that's not saying much, because I don't have many issues with the Ruger 10/22. Almost never. Usually it's because of lack of maintenance. I have one particular truck gun, Ruger 10/22 rifle, that I just don't maintain at all. I just don't care. It's a beater. I got it for $60. But even at that, I almost never get a problem. No hang-ups or anything. But occasionally I do because, 1,000 rounds or whatever without cleaning, 22 is gonna jam at some point. These guys, they don't jam. And that's because I'm careful with them. I clean and lubricate them. I wind the magazine the correct number of turns. I load this with the correct ammo, which is high velocity. Don't use bulk junk in this. If you want this thing to perform, use good high velocity ammo and you will not have a problem. I promise you that. Now here's the rub. The Ruger 10/22, you can get one brand new for $200 to $300. Used, you can get them cheaper. These things, if you want a Calico like one of these, you are looking at close to $700, brand new. Now, that's a lot of money, and I understand if somebody doesn't want to pay that. That is almost to the point where you got to be pretty serious to pay that kind of money for a 22. But I can tell you something. When I made the video, World's Most Misunderstood Gun, about this, I was looking for this. I was looking in gun shops. I was looking on Gunbroker. And I'll tell you, there were times when I found a really great deal, but I didn't have the money. And that happens sometimes. Life is like that. But then there were times when I did have the money and I came across a really great deal. I'm not going to tell you how much I got this for. YouTube has a lot of new rules. But what I'll tell you is that this was in the ballpark of a Ruger 10/22, a used Ruger 10/22. So if you're patient and keep looking, you will run across a really good deal on a Calico. For about half the cost of a brand new one, you can get one that is in almost mint condition, runs perfect. You just have to keep looking and don't give up. I guarantee you the deals are out there, and usually it's going to be some widow as part of her husband's collection, and she's just needing to sell it all off. And it all comes down to who's bidding that day. Whatever the bid is, that's what it's going to sell for. So I probably bid on 10 different Calico pistols before I got this one. Eventually I was the high bidder and I got it. So don't give up. If you want it and it's worth it that much to you, keep trying. It's worth it, I promise. Now, some of the things about this gun that I love a lot are it's very small, relatively lightweight. I want to do the bullpup. I will do that eventually, and I'll show you that when I do. But here's some shooting footage of this gun. This thing is really fun to shoot. It's really accurate. Collecting magazines is easy. You can buy new magazines, you can buy used magazines. They're all over the place. Just keep looking for them. A magazine like this is probably going to run you brand new. If you buy one brand new from Calico, I think there's something like $120. That's pretty expensive. Or you could buy a used one, and I've seen them for $50. But when you realize what these magazines do, you realize why they cost what they do. And if you compare that to 5 or 6 BX25 magazines, then you start to realize, well, that price isn't so high after all. That's actually pretty reasonable for what it does. Calico really should get their act together with these guns. I don't know why they have so much trouble. I don't know why they can't make these things easier to get. But most people have never heard of this pistol before. I produced a YouTube video about this that has more views than anybody else who has ever reviewed this gun. And that's kind of a shame. I wish more people knew about it because it's a lot of fun. So if you want one, don't hesitate. Look. Put in your time, do your research, and if you watch a bunch of YouTube videos about these things and you see a bunch of guys having trouble, just realize the reason they're having trouble is because either they don't maintain the gun, they don't understand the gun, or they're using the wrong ammunition. It is ammo sensitive. A good gun like this requires high velocity ammo to function. High quality, high velocity ammo to fuel the engine of this gun, to throw the bolt all the way back and cycle it correctly. I can tell you that using junk ammo is going to make your Ruger 1022 sometimes jam up. So just realize what you're getting and what it requires, and you will have a lot of fun. One other thing I want to tell you about with this pistol that I really like is this little compensator right here. Now, there's a set screw. This is not threaded on. This is a set screw right here. And this thing works really well. You know, you don't really need much of a compensator on a 22, I'll tell you that. But, you know, when you think about competition guns have compensators on them, even 22s. And this thing is probably in the realm of a competition gun. The barrel is really fantastic. It's an incredibly accurate gun. It's a little weird, and people don't like things that are unusual, and that's why I think people shy away from this. So check it out for yourself before you make any kind of judgment about the Calico M100 pistol. This is Max Headspace 9mm. Have a good one.